Hello, my name is Daniel Tamirano. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Empowering Teachers Worldwide. If you have visited my blog in the last few days, you will notice that I have been posting about poetry and using poetry in different ways in the classroom. You can also find a couple of videos here in the YouTube channel about using poetry to get children or students to write poetry. So now today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can use poetry to raise awareness of different social problems, and in particular, raising awareness of the refugee crisis. Now, as regards the use of poetry, I think that there are two types of teacher when it comes to poetry. There are the ones who love it and bring it into the classroom freely and often, and others who stay clear. And this may be because they don't think it fits into the curriculum and with what they are teaching. They may not have the time to fit it in, or they may not enjoy poetry themselves, and of course, this prevents them from introducing it into the classroom. Personally, I would love poetry to become a choice that enriches the time spent in the classroom in ways that foster memorable encounters and create satisfying experiences that can potentially live creatively in future activities. Now, since poetry is focused on relaying experience in a highly salient way, there is great potential for it to be used as a means to build empathy and bridge gaps of understanding between people who come from different backgrounds. And in this way, poetry can be a vehicle for messages of social justice, bringing our attention towards and better conceptualizing those injustices, and also playing a dual role in helping us cope with those injustices too. Um, now, uh, in this video, I'm going to share some ideas that we can use in the classroom to raise awareness of the situation of refugees, no matter what part of the world they are from. And I'm going to use a beautiful poem by Nicola Davis. Nicola Davis is an English zoologist and writer. And the poem I'm going to present is called The Day War Came. And it's her poetic response to the impact of the UK's governmental refugee policies. It was first published in 2016 in the Guardian website, and it was turned into a picture book with colored pencil and watercolor illustrations by Rebecca Cobb. And you can find out more about the background of this poem if you visit my blog. Davis's powerful words are really sensitively represented by Cobb in simple child-centered illustrations, making this an accessible book for young readers ready to engage with this difficult topic. Now, talking about human rights and refugees can seem a complex topic and not relevant for discussion by primary school children. However, uh, children face the basic issues of prejudice, fairness, conflict resolution, and human choice every day through their relationships with their peers. And also, they know that there is war in the world, whether they have directly experienced it or not. So, this book and the discussion, although it may create some anxiety about war or violence, it is an important tool for uh, approximating children to the reality of war. Now, before reading the story, have a class discussion about the word refugee. What do you think it means? What words do you associate with it? Where do refugees come from? What makes a person leave their home and embark on such a fearful journey? So, get the students talking about all this and create a mind map using words from this discussion. And then you can revisit the mind map after reading the book and have the students consider if their ideas have changed and how, and what they have learned about refugees. You can then show the cover of the book. This is something that is, I think it's very important whenever you are working with books, with storybooks, or with a book of poems, for example, as it is the case here. Use the book as a resource. Use the covers, use the colors, use the illustrations, the spreads, the back pages, etc. Um, Show them the cover, and you can, for example, uh, cover everything except for the girl. Yes, so you can ask the students, okay, what's going on in the picture? Mhm. What makes you say that? Why do you think this girl has the hands over her ears? Then you can show the chair, and the pictures here. So, what's the connection between the chair and the girl? What else can you see? The volcanic eruption there. Why do you think the pictures are important? Based on this cover, what do you think the book is about? When and where do you think the story takes place? How do you think it will begin? And how will it end? And then finally, you show the title of the book. And you ask if the predictions were correct. You can open the book and look at the whole cover and ask the children or the students to tell you what the illustration makes them feel. Then you can show them, you move on to the first spread of the book with the girl's family at the breakfast table, and you ask them what they can tell about the girl, what her life in this picture. How is her morning, like their morning before a school day? How is it different? What does the first page tell the students about the girl's family life, and what country they think she lives in? So you may use 3 questions to get them thinking about this. What's going on in this picture? What makes you say that? What more can you find? And you allow them time to think about their responses. Then you can look at the second spread. She's at school, and ask the students to look carefully at the illustrations. Why do you think the illustrator chose to line up the children's volcano pictures along the window? How is war like a volcano? How is it different? What sign is there in the illustration that war is coming? You don't see it here, but there are helicopters here coming in. How do you think the girl feels in the picture? Yes, that is, one word of caution, of course, this book is not for very small children, but you can use it with children as from the ages of 8 or 9. And if they don't have enough language, it doesn't matter. You allow them to use their own language, and you then supply the vocabulary in English, the words that they need. But bear in mind that this is an activity. What we are doing with the book is about reading and thinking about the poem and reflecting. It's not about teaching grammar. Um, Now, you can draw a sketch, for example, of the girl, yes, or you can use the illustration, and um, you can use sticky notes or papers and ask the students to surround her with the words they have chosen to describe her feelings. And tell them to think about, for example, what colors they will use so that they are in keeping with the mood, with the feelings that they are talking about. And leave it there because they can then add more things to this picture that they are creating, to this board that they are creating as they read or they listen to you reading the story. Now, as you read the poem, again, I mean, this focus on the illustrations. Discuss, for example, how the illustrations give the reader more information than it is offered in the text. Um, Ask them to identify the illustrated elements. For example, here you see the volcanoes, eruptions, fire. Why do they think they have been included in the book? What colors have been used? What mood do the colors create in the reader? What emotions are the characters feeling? That is, everything in the book, not just not just the words, but also the illustrations and the colors contribute to the whole atmosphere. Now, after the students have read the book, or you have read the book to the students, uh, you can have a discussion. So you can ask the students where they think the story is set and what gives them this impression. Mhm. It is not specified in the book, neither by the author nor by the illustrator, which country the story is set or the destination country. So ask the students why they think this has been left open to interpretation. What sort of things do you think refugees will find difficult in the new country? In what ways can they help refugees? If they know a refugee personally, and if they don't know any refugees, they can organize, for example, some activities to help refugee children. Yes? Help them identify the main themes of the text. The main themes are fear, safety, war, change. What messages about these themes do you think the text is communicating? They can start a kindness campaign because the main theme is kindness. I'm not going to make any spoilers here, so I would like you to read the story yourselves, and you will see that it's beautiful. Um, Last May, I was lucky enough to meet Nicola Davis in Lisbon while we were both attending the API conference there. And she herself read the poem to the audience, and once again, we all cried. It's so moving. I mean, I have read this poem so many times, and every time I read it, it's I feel it so deeply. It's so moving. So a kindness, the kindness that is present in the poem, in the end of the poem, you will see. So kindness is the main theme. And you need to make this apparent to the students. Now, there are chairs all around, and you will see more chairs later on. So you can ask the students what they think the chairs represent. They can design their own chair, make a class display of chairs, decide what type of chair, if it is 3D or 2D, what medium they would like their chair to come into being. That is, it's up to them. Mhm. Um, then we can write some poetry. For example, you can ask the students to think of all the things that war can do and list them. Imagine the school, the home being destroyed. How would they feel? What would they do? Where would they go? Ask them to make a list of the 5 things they would miss the most, and they can create a poem about war by choosing their best lines. They can start thinking about rhythm. You can ask them to create a class poem and read it aloud. You might want them to use rhyme, but it's not essential. Poetry is freedom. I write poetry myself, and I never write rhyming poetry. Uh, Actually, I don't like it. So poetry is freedom. Let them express themselves. Ask them to read their lines aloud to a partner, to listen to the poem to see how they sound. Ask them to play around with line and word order to create the best effect. Poetry is a wonderful tool to experiment with language. Mm. And here you have a possible structure for a poem. This is very simple. After reading the book, you will understand why I chose this structure. Mm. So they can share their poems, and as I said, they can make a longer class poem that they can perform and put music to, for example. Another thing that they can do is to do cut up poetry. This is an aleatory literary technique in which a written text is cut up and rearranged to create a new text. This was created by Tristan Tzara and the Dadaists in the 1920s, but it became very popular in the late 50s and early 60s. And I have used this in workshops. I have used this, uh, I have attended poetry writing workshops, and my teachers have used this. It's wonderful. It's very creative, and it's fun to do. Mhm. So this is a variation of the sort that was popularized in the 60s, and students make collages after slicing up dozens of sources. Mm. Cut-up poetry gives language to students who may struggle to find the right words. It's accessible, it's hands-on, and it's fun. It's easy to set up because you only need stacks of old magazines, scissors, glue, and a colorful paper. So, first, you need to instruct students to find powerful words in the magazines, cut them out, and make piles on their desk. You could also assign cutting out powerful words from old magazines for homework, so that they already come to the class with their materials. Yes? Then they arrange and rearrange the words on their desks into meaningful poetry. And this is a great opportunity to reinforce the power of form, shape, line breaks, and encourage them to be thoughtful about their choices. Talk to your students about choosing the best words, eliminating unnecessary words, and playing around with word choice. And then they glue their poem in place onto a colorful piece of paper, and they can also decorate the poem, and you can display the poems around in the classroom. Another option is blackout poetry or found poetry. This is another technique. And found poems take existing texts and refashion them, reorder them, and present them as poems. It's again the literary equivalent of a collage. And it's often made from newspaper articles, street signs, graffitis, speeches, letters, or even other poems. I have also done this, and it's fun. I mean, you take a sheet of paper that is printed, a sheet of printed material, any printed material, and you start blacking out parts of it and only leaving the words that you're interested in. This again started in the 20th century, and it shared many traits with pop art. And Andy Warhol, for example, and Marcel Duchamp's bicycle wheels were part of this movement. Now, any text, you only need to have something printed on it. It can be newspapers. Mhm. So the students first scan for the most striking words, the ones they like the most, words or phrases, those words that stand out, repeat, or speak to the themes that you want them to explore in their poem. Then they outline the words they are keeping and black out the rest of the page. Mhm. They can black it out, or they can create pictures that are related to their poem. But again, hiding the rest of the printed text, as you can see here. They don't have to read the source document in full. They can start at the end, jump around. It's up to them. As I say, poetry is freedom. And tell them that what they are eliminating is just as important as what they are leaving visible. This can be the starting point of some visual art, of some other poems, of a collage, a video poem. Now, you decide, yes, what types of activity you can do and what follow-up activities you can do. This is just a taster, just a few ideas of the many things that you can do with this book and this poem. Now, going back to the question of social justice, unfortunately, a good number of social justice issues are not able to be solved overnight, and much less within a few years. In this way, the role of poetry is even more important, because it's meant to be our companion throughout every stage of societal awareness. Whether a particular poem translates human experience in general into words or translates the experience of one group of people to another, one thing is certain: the role of poetry will be forever changing, adapting itself to the needs of society as poets see fit and as the human experience necessitates. I hope you have found these activities interesting, and I hope you look for the book and you read it, or you can look for the poem because you can still find it online if you look for it in The Guardian. However, I encourage you to get the book because the illustrations, the whole book is a beautiful thing to have. Uh, so, as I say, I hope you find this video useful and the activities useful. You can always find some more things in my website and in the blog, which is also on my website, and again in the YouTube channel. In my YouTube channel, you will find, as you will see, lots of sources and ideas. And if you subscribe to it, you will be keeping up to date with everything I post. Thank you very much for watching this video and see you next time. Bye bye.